These are notes for the rest of Chapter 3, Section 3, Slope-Intercept Form. So we talked about how to use slope-intercept form to graph, and then we're going to practice, or have practiced, depending on when you watch this, how to get a line and write slope-intercept form. But there's two other things that are going to come up with slope-intercept form. One is, what if we know that the slope of a line is 1/2? And we want to write the equation of the line having that slope and going through a specific point. So we're going to write an equation. Oh, hang on a second. Okay, sorry about that. I was showing Miss Grove how you could use a pencil, but it's really hard to see. So here we go. We're going to write the equation of a line having a slope of -1/2. -1/2 that goes through the point, let's say 2, -3. Okay, so since this is not B, not the y-intercept, we have to do some calculation. We have to use the formula to figure out if we can see what B is. Because there are a whole bunch of lines with a slope of -1/2. We have to get the one that's going to go through to -3. Okay, so let me move up here a little bit. We know that our formula is y equals mx plus b, where this is our slope and this is our y-intercept. So let's see what we know from our problem. When we know the slope is 1/2. Let's go back up here so I can show you. This is our slope. Oops, my goodness. M, and this is a point, an ordered pair, x comma y. So I have my y, I have an m, I have an x, I just need to figure out b. So algebra says, you have one missing equation, solve the equation, find out what that is. So the y is -3, m was -1/2, x is 2, and b is what I'm looking for. Alright, so we're going to take care of that multiplication first. So I have -3, -1/2 times 2 is -1, plus b. So I add 1 to each side to get b alone. -3 plus 1 is -2. -1 plus 1 is 0, so b equals -2. So our equation is y equals -1/2, that was our slope that was given to us, x minus 2 is our y-intercept, which we just figured out. Okay, the other question they can ask us is, give us 2 points and ask what is the equation between that line. So let's write our question down. What is the equation of a line? Equation of a line that passes between -2, 9 and 1, 6. Okay, so why would we need to do this other than it's super fun? Is what if we knew, if you go to, I don't know if we talked about this in class or it was Math 8, if you go to, I think it's Domino's, and you order pizza, you never know what the price of a plain pizza is, unless of course you don't put any toppings on it. It doesn't tell you that information. But if you knew like 3 toppings cost, I don't know, $15.99 and 5 toppings cost $18.99, well, those are 2 points on that line. So it's going to be a linear function. It's going to have a constant rate of change. Each number of toppings costs the same, at Domino's anyway. So you can use those 2 points, figure out the equation of the line, and then you could use it to predict 0 toppings or 10 toppings or however many toppings you want. So that's how this would be used in real life if you wanted to figure that out. All right, so let's talk about the steps. Step 1 is to find the slope. And to find the slope between 2 points, we use the difference in the y's compared to the difference in the x's. Of course, you could always get a piece of graph paper and do rise over run if you wanted to. You could make a little table if you wanted to, but I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to use, about green, x1, y1, x2, y2. Basically, the way I remember it is I'm just going to subtract the y's and then subtract the x's in the same order, because I'm going to start with the same point. So, did I say 9? That's a 9 up there. Yes. So, I guess we'll do y2, 6 minus 9 over x2 is 1 minus negative 2. Now, if you are at school where you have an Inspire calculator or a calculator that will do this, you can put the whole thing in, do control divide, you get the fraction template, put that whole thing in like it is, and then you don't have to worry about integer issues. Okay, so 6 minus 9 is negative 3, and 1 minus negative 2, remember that's like plus, that's 3. So my slope is negative 1. There we go. Okay. So step 2. Step 2 is substitute and solve for b, because now we have, just like we did in the first example, we have slope, and we actually have 2 different ordered pairs, so we could pick whichever one we want. We have slope in an ordered pair. What we don't have is b. We don't know where that y-intercept is. So we're going to say substitute and solve our slope-intercept formula for b, because that's what we don't know. Okay, so we have 2 different points that we could use. Oops, I always forget to do that. Okay, you have negative 2, 9 as one point, and 1, 6 as another point. I'm going to use 1, 6 only because there's no negatives. If I have a point where 2 of them are positive, that's what I'm going to use first, so I don't have to worry so much about integer issues. But it doesn't really matter. You could use either one. Okay, so y, oh, I have that up there. Hang on. Y is going to be, this is x, this is y, so y is 6 equals the slope we figured out earlier, negative 1, times the x is 1, and I'm looking for the plus b part. Okay, let me make this one red. Alright, so well, now we just do the math. 6 equals negative 1 times 1 is negative 1, plus b, add 1, b equals 7. So I know that the y-intercept is 0, 7. So then the third step is to just write your equation. Write the equation. So y equals, m is negative 1. I'll put it like that for now. X, and b is 7. So we would see, we wouldn't write that 1 in there, we'd say y equals negative x plus 7. There you go.